Welcome into the Sports Shuffle. It is
Hashtag technology.
technology is fun. Yeah. Friday, September 26th. I am flying Ryan Gilchrist along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth Joel Verone. If we unplugged the world and plugged it back in, would it work better?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to try at this point, but we'll talk more about the world, at least the football world, as we go on today. I don't think it's good we talk about the real world at all.
Yeah, because it's just sort of makes your head hurt.
Everything makes my head hurt as I'm watching a dog chew something over to the side. It's fun. Anyways, we did have a Thursday night football game that was technically a game, even though for the most part it didn't
Better
feel
than
like it.
expected.
I mean, it ended with a really good game, but for the most part,
Just
it
took a
looked.
while to get there.
Yeah, the Cardinals looked really, 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 really bad, and then all of a sudden they looked solid and still found a way to lose the game, 23-20. Marvin Harrison Jr. He was getting dragged through the mud for a while in that game.
Oof.
He was responsible for both the interception Kyler Murray throw, one where he stopped
Did,
running the
did you
route, the
love?
other one.
Did you love when JSN got the holding call and he had the hot mic moment and he called him out on it?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a good one. The ref just gives him the death stare as he walks by. One of the highlights of the night for sure. The Marvin Harrison bobble to an interception. I mean, both of those, if Marv plays a little bit better, they probably don't happen. But you can't give up on the play and you can't juggle it like you're in the circus for 10 yards. But the Seahawks defense, very, very good. They kind of blew it in the fourth quarter, but last second field goal by Jason Myers from over 50 yards gives them the 23-20 win. Sam Darnold, 18 of 26 for 242 and a touchdown. It took a little while for Jackson Smith and Njigba to get involved, but he 4 of 79 effort. Not great if you're expecting a big fantasy night, but not the end of the world either. Leading rusher for the Seahawks was Ken Walker with 19 carries for 81 yards, even though the touchdowns, well, they did not go to him. One went to Charbonnet, and one went to A.J. Barner, the tight end.
Huh?
So, yeah. Deep dive dynasty, he's on some rosters of mine, but that's he's not a starter. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 27 of 41, 2 touchdowns and those 2 interceptions. He was the leading rusher. Remember, this team lost James Conner last week. He was 5 for 41 yards. Trey Benson had the most carries, 8 for 35 yards. Not a terrible average at 4.38 per carry. Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he did have a terrible first half where I think it was 1 catch for 5 yards, ends the night 6 for 66 and a touchdown. And you could see the relief, the relaxation, the realization that he's not going to get benched when he caught that touchdown, but he just knelt down like, oh my God, I'm not the worst player on the planet. He had a really bad night that ended up being a pretty decent night, all things considered, statistically. Trey McBride, 7 for 52, and Greg Dortch getting involved, 4 for 35.
Yeah, because you have the good from this game definitely JSN, Sam Darnold, Kenneth Flippin Walker. The bad, yeah, Kyler Murray might have saved his fantasy night, but I don't think he would call it a good reality night. And all that hype about one Trey Benson. Well,
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have a good run defense, have a good defense in general. We've seen it through 4 weeks. They really haven't given up a lot of points. So maybe not the worst first start for Trey Benson this season. 8 for 35. They really didn't give him a lot of opportunities. He did also contribute a little bit in the passing game, 5 catches for 19 yards. The Cardinals offense struggled for the first 3 quarters until it kind of exploded in the fourth to bring it back from a 20-6 deficit to tie it up. But the Cardinals do fall. And Joel and I both getting that one right this week. So hopefully off to a better start than last week. I think we're 4-0 on the Thursday night games, though, so far this year. So good starts to the week is what we need, and that's what we've got.
yes, as we go on to picking the games for this week, and we have one of those ugly early morning games that we have to deal with.
Yep, 9:30 game in Dublin, Ireland. The first one in Ireland. Hits Minnesota facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Irish get to see ayahuasca Aaron, and the Steelers face a very good defense in the Vikings. The Vikings looked like absolute world beaters last week against the Bengals. The Pittsburgh Steelers won a garbage game against the New England Patriots with 5 turnovers. For the Vikings, you're going to play Jordan Mason, who was great at running back last week. Pittsburgh's run defense has not been good this year. He could be a great start. Worth mentioning, Jaylen Warren is questionable in this game, the running back for Pittsburgh, so keep an eye on that. Should play, but let's get that official before we start throwing him in lineups. If he's playing, he probably should be in a lineup, even though it's a tough matchup. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Hawkinson. Don't forget Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson. Jordan Addison back this week from his suspension. He could be a play as well. For the Steelers, though, like I said, Warren if he's active, and then DK Metcalf for your fantasy options. Joel, this is an early morning game in another country. These sometimes get weird. Who do you got?
Yeah, you had Aaron Rodgers saying how he's going to be over there early drinking some Guinness and hopes that others will. So, yeah, it's just one of these games that you're going to probably forget about when you wake up. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. There's a game going on. There's also one next week, too. Yay. Thanks, NFL. Thanks, NFL. But I just think the Vikings ended up trashing the poor Bengals last week, and Rodgers and the Steelers just somehow won the game, even with all those fumbleias last week that you're still trying to figure out how did they win. And I'm just not buying into the Steeler BS win this week. I think he can blow those horns in Ireland as I'm going to the Vikings, and Steelers get a week off, and Rodgers gets some time so he can go contact some more aliens.
Yeah, I'm taking Minnesota as well. Pittsburgh did get very lucky to beat the Patriots last week. They haven't looked great defensively all season long. I'm taking Minnesota because their defense looks the real deal. We saw them just desecrate a team that they should desecrate last week. And I think that offense is going to get the ball going on the ground pretty good. And I'm going to take Minnesota in what's going to probably be a really slow starting game just because it's at a weird time and a weird location. These usually don't start fast. Next up, it's Washington, Atlanta.
Go to not Atlanta.
No Jaden Daniels once again this week. No Terry McLaurin for the Commanders this week. So it will be Marcus Mariota at the starting quarterback. He was great for fantasy last week. If you have Jaden Daniels, you could probably just stick Marcus Mariota in and be just fine. But you also have some options on the waivers, I'm sure, as well. For Washington, I don't think this is a good place for most of their players just because Atlanta's got a pretty good defense. So I would say Deebo Samuel. If you're in a deeper league, maybe Bill Krosky-Merritt in the backfield, maybe Zach Ertz at tight end. But that's probably the only ones you're realistically going to play. For the Falcons, you're going to play Bijan Robinson. He is one of the lock it in. Don't think about it. Starts all season long as he is healthy. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, little less confident in both of those with how bad Penix has been, but they're still going to be at least in consideration. I think London, where you draft him, he's in your lineup as well. Atlanta, coming off a very, very, very bad performance against Carolina. Washington, after dominating with a backup quarterback over Las Vegas last week, who do you got?
Yeah, Falcons get lucky with no Daniels or Scary in this week, but yeah, until they show me, Flying, that they deserve to win, I have to pick the Commanders just because Mariota right now is just that much better than Penix, who is just, had a lot of promise for the young man, but just absolutely got smacked around last week. Falcons' production pretty much was all Bijan last week, and let's just hope they can go beyond the 30-yard line this week. Falcons get the bye next week, and they probably need it with they need a reset after how the season has started, and Vikes get Browns in London.
Yeah, I'm going to take Washington as well. I do think Atlanta's going to play a lot better than they did last week. Penix should improve over what he did last week at the very least. can't be much worse. But I think this is going to be a surprisingly close game. It is in Atlanta, which should help the Falcons. Bijan should be able to eat this Washington defense for lunch. And I think it's going to be closer than you might expect. But I do think Washington just has too much talent, even without McLaurin and Daniels in the lineup. And we're moving on to.
Speaking of teams about to have lunch.
Yeah, there's a couple games coming up that I don't think we're going to have a lot of surprises with. But this one, New Orleans at Buffalo. We saw New Orleans leave the friendly confines of New Orleans, the Superdome, and get smacked by the Seahawks last week. And now they go and arguably face the best team in football in the Buffalo Bills. For the Saints, Juwan Johnson, Alvin Kamara in fantasy consideration. Olave could be there as well as Shaheed in deeper formats, but it could be a really rough day for all parties involved for New Orleans. For Buffalo, this is an interesting one because we saw a couple weeks ago when they played the Jets, it was really James Cook, and that was it. And this has the makings of a game where if they don't get on the board early in the passing game, it could be a James Cook and nothing else. Now, you're going to play Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid, I think, has earned at least a spot start here and there, depending on your rosters. Keon Coleman, if he can get a touchdown early, could be an absolute steal this week. I mean, this New Orleans Saints defense is not great. Khalil Shakir, but this, just bear in mind, this could be one of those weeks where, yeah, Buffalo won 35-3, and Josh Allen has 8 fantasy points. And Keon Coleman doesn't do anything. And it's just James Cook got 2 touchdowns, the defense got a touchdown, and then some backup you've never heard of, and then garbage time.
Yeah, sort of like with the Colts game that you started, Daniels, and you're thinking, or no, you're starting Daniel Jones, and you're thinking what happened to the points because it was a Jonathan Taylor game. Same sort of kind of thing.
Yeah, very easily could be that way this week. Obviously, I don't think we're going to disagree on this one, but Joel, tell me who you got, and we'll move on to the next easy pick.
Yeah, because this one is the Bills are pretty much and I'll censor the song title. Move it, get out of the way, and get out of the way as they're playing that. The Saints says, "Don't blink or think." Allen's gonna win by however much he wants to. Saints go to 0-4. If this was a match in wrestling flying, it would be a dark match, and Bills face the Patriots next week. And who the Saints go? We have a tank bowl alert because they're playing the Giants.
Yes, there's a cat behind me. It's fine. Buffalo was at least on Tuesday a 16.5-point favorite when the sleeper pick'ems lines locked. It's probably higher than that now. I don't see a way where New Orleans even covers. I'm taking Buffalo. It can't this. I know we saw Cleveland upset Green Bay last week, and that seemed impossible.
Ain't happening here. Sorry, not in Orchard Park.
At least I can say things about the Cleveland Browns like, hey, they've got a really good defense. They can turn this into an ugly game like they did and steal it. New Orleans, I can't say that about, so I just don't see how Buffalo gets anything other than a massive 17-plus point win and covers the spread. Next up, those Cleveland Browns.
Ford Field.
Those Cleveland Browns that did just muddy the waters and steal a win from Green Bay go to Detroit to play the Lions. Cleveland's 1-2, and they really should be 2-1. Remember that first week loss to the Bengals when they missed a field goal, missed an extra point, and lost by 1. Detroit, after an ugly loss to Green Bay, who again Cleveland has beaten, has looked every bit as dominant as the Detroit Lions offense did last year, winning the last 2 games by scoring a combined 90 points in 2 games. They are 8.5-point home favorites over the Browns. This could be a little bit of a trap game for Detroit, as I believe next week they play, it would have been a bigger game, at Cincinnati. Not such a big game without Joe Burrow. But the Lions, that offense has to keep going. The Browns, good defense. For this one, Quinshon Judkins, running back for Cleveland, should be starting in lineups now. I mean, he played really well against the Ravens defense. He played really well against the Packers defense. I don't think he's one of those you're going to shy away from for the defense. He looks like the real deal as one of the very few rookies that just looks like the real deal from the first time he touched the ball. Njoku, Fannin could be in your lineups as well as Cedric Tillman and Jerry Judy, at least in consideration, but probably not great plays. For the Lions, it's pretty much anybody you want from this one. Keep in mind, Jared Goff, this defense could slow down the passing game. It could be all Jahmyr Gibbs. It could be all David Montgomery, but you also have Williams. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got Sam Laporta. I don't think you bench anybody in this game. You can play Jared Goff if you are one of those people like, hey, I have Jane Daniels.
Prepare for a little bit of a disappointment with Montgomery, but you're still playing him.
I mean, somebody's going to disappoint in this game very badly, and that's kind of what happens with the Detroit Lions is, hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game, and both the running backs, well, Williams and Laporta typically take that step back. If Laporta has a big game, Williams has a good game, usually one of the running backs is hurting at the least. So I kind of, that comes with the territory with the Detroit Lions, but I don't see how you can bench any of their guys with how good they were last week against a decent Baltimore defense. Joe, who do you got?
Yeah, because Browns D is legit, but that Lions offense is fierce, just humbling the mighty Ravens, as we saw. Browns might put up a fight, but Lions have to get back on a roll. Like we said, Montgomery, Gibbs, and you kind of got to watch them up against that Browns E, but you got them, you're playing them, you play your studs. But yeah, I think if Lions get a win, might be a little bit more of a fight than they think, but it's hard going against them at Ford Field. And then, yeah, Browns get to go to the 9:30 a.m. against the Vikings. Lions get to beat up against the Bungles next week.
Yeah. All right, I'm on Detroit as well. I just think they look too good right now. That defense should be able to shut down this offense really, really well. I think it's going to look a lot like how the Cleveland-Baltimore game did a couple weeks ago where, yeah, maybe they slow down a piece or two, but eventually something's going to get going and it's going to get blown wide open. Moving on to
Houston.
If it wasn't for this, the Monday Nighter with the Jets and Dolphins would be the sorriest game of the week, but it is one of two 0-3 versus 0-3 battles, including that game. Houston, 7.5-point home favorites. It seems high. I'm just going to say, I think against the spread, I'm taking Tennessee. We'll do our straight up pick here in a second. For Tennessee, I think it's Tony Pollard and then Alec Ayamanor. That is the only real options you've got here for the Titans. For the Texans, I do think Nick Chubb's an interesting play. Nico Collins is, of course, in your lineup. But that could be it. This might not be a big fantasy game. CJ Stroud in a spot start in a deeper league might be worth a dart throw. But you really have to be out of options to put him in the lineup with how bad this team has looked. Both teams 0-3. Both teams have looked very much like an 0-3 team. I think Houston's played a higher level of competition than Tennessee, but Tennessee is they haven't played nobodies at the very least. So, Joel, who do you got?
Oh boy, you just have to pick the Texans here, flying. Not because I love them that much, not because I have that much confidence in them, just that the Titans are that bad. You talk about the spread and talk about maybe they can stay competitive, but just so much wrong with the Texans. They really need help with the O-line, but they're the better of the two teams. I just don't see how you have confidence in the Titans right now to do much of anything. And looking forward, how about the Texans get the Ravens? It doesn't get any easier, and Tennessee gets the Cards. That's going to be an interesting game of derping.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans as well to win straight up. I do think this is a very close game. Might be one of those where Houston wins and people go, what can they do to fix Houston? Because it's a really bad team. It's really bad offensive line, which really is just crushing them. They really need Joe Mixon back. Technically, he's able to come off the PUP list, the injured reserve NFI list that he's on after this week. There's been no rumblings about him coming back, though. So if you have him and you've stuck him under IR in fantasy, if you've kept him on the bench because, well, if he comes back, he's going to be a worthwhile play if he's healthy. Keep your ear to the ground. Maybe he comes back, but he is technically eligible next week. Again, technically. but he likely won't be.
And then what is with the schedule this week is flying. We go from a 0-3 matchup to a 1-2 matchup.
Well, I mean, we got a few 1-2 matchups, including Chiefs Ravens down the line.
Of all teams.
And like I said, we have another 0-3 versus 0-3 game that we'll have to talk about here in a little bit. But next one up is two 1-2 teams. The Carolina Panthers going to New England to face the New England Patriots. The Patriots are 5.5-point home favorites. And the real question for the Patriots is, who is going to be the running back that doesn't fumble the ball? Who do you trust after Stevenson and Gibson both lost fumbles? Trevion Henderson never lost a fumble in college. End of discussion. He had over 600 carries, but he's had some blocking issues, has some penalty issues, trying to block. So what do they do? As far as fantasy in this game, Tanner McMillan is right now questionable with a calf injury. He says he's going to be good to go. If he's good to go, you'll play him and Chuba Hubbard. I do think Ja'Tavion Sanders could be an interesting play at tight end as well. For the Patriots, pass, it would be Keyshawn Boutte as a dart throw at the wide receiver position. I don't trust any of these running backs right now just to say they will be good. Now, you might be in a position where you have to play Ramondre Stevenson or Henderson. So be it. But I think Ramondre Stevenson could be one fumble from being benched, and it could go to Antonio Gibson, or Henderson get in and have a couple penalties, and he's benched. I just don't know what you do there. And then Drake May as a concept at quarterback, Hunter Henry at tight end, both in consideration as well. So, Joel, 2 1-2 teams, both have looked good at times, mostly last week for Carolina, but they've definitely had their issues. Who do you got?
I'm just not buying the Panthers fully yet, Flying. I think the Patriots bounce back here at home. Yeah, the Panthers get Dolphins. Pats get Bills on Sunday Night Football. Have fun, Pats. So even if you do manage to get the win here, it's going to be fun next week there. Pats season just with the way it's going so bad right now, you're probably hearing more about Bill Belichick and UNC and Stephon Diggs and Cardi B than Patriots football right now. I'm probably thinking you even have Stephon Diggs' brother involved in the elevator footage that has been out there. We'll have to wonder if that leads back to any kind of suspension for Stephon Diggs, who hasn't exactly been lighting the fantasy world on fire quite yet. But I'm picking the Patriots in probably one not the not sexy games of the day.
Yeah, there's a few not so great ones this weekend. I'm taking the Patriots as well. As good as Carolina looked last week against Atlanta, I do think a lot of that was Atlanta just not showing up. I don't expect that from New England. I just think that they're too well coached to just lay that much of an egg. They stood toe to toe against the Steelers. They beat the Dolphins. They stood toe to toe with the Raiders in week number 1. This isn't a bad team in New England. It's just not a team that's ready to be a winning team. I think Vrabel gets them going back in the right direction. They bounce back, get a win against Carolina, and then they get to enjoy a game against Buffalo.
We go to the home of the dart that hopefully will bring things back from the abyss.
Yes, the Giants hosting the Chargers, the 3-0 Chargers going to New York, to New Jersey, more specifically, to face the 0-3. Now Jackson Dart-led New York Giants. No more Russell Wilson. So I think that I just traded him away in a Dynasty League because, well, I'm a win now team, and I don't know what he's going to be. Got Dak Prescott back and some picks, but, whatever. Dynasty is fun.
You're done with the ride. That's what you're saying.
Well, it's one of those things. I have Josh Allen. I've got Derrick Henry. I've got some older guys that it's a win now team. I have Penix, who's been not great. I had Wilson, who's been not great. I've got Flacco, who's been not great, and I had Dart. So if Dart is not great, it's a super flex league, so you're playing 2. If he is bad, I have no quarterback 2, and now I'm
playing not great screwed. And not great.
Or I go get Dak Prescott, who's not great, still probably going to get you 14, 15 points a week.
He's getting a lot of money, though. Does that count for anything in fantasy?
No. So I just didn't want to take the chance that Jackson Dart comes out against a good defense, looks bad, and then the confidence is shot. I'd rather sell high, get what I could get for him, and move on. He could be great. He could be the infusion of energy we need. We see Cam Scadaba, who is a start in this game, Malik Neighbors, who is a start in this game. They've got a good young core. I don't think you go anywhere else. Maybe Wandale in a deeper league. For the Giants. For the Chargers, Omarion Hampton broke out last week after the Najee Harris injury. He's going to be back in starting lineups this week, as well as the three-headed monster wide receiver of Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, and Quentin Johnson. In fact, I would say Ladd McConkey might be the bottom of those three for fantasy options just because Keenan seems to have taken his role out right. What he was so great at last year was that slot role that Keenan's so much better at right now. And then Quentin Johnson's just a big play threat. So he can have 2 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown and out to McConkey on that alone. So 3-0 Chargers going to the 0-3 Giants. Does Jackson Dart give this team a boost to get their first win of the season?
Yeah, I know you got all the hope and all the hype for Dart, but I don't know how you picked the Giants flying. I feel sorry for Dart being thrown to the Chargers and as an offering. Hopefully, the kid is okay, makes it out of the game because we know the Chargers are known for offense, but also defense. And
They have a
yeah,
good day.
just have a question flying. For after last week with the Giants and when Russell Wilson threw to the crossbar, can we actually add the crossbar as a player for wide receiver in fantasy football? Is the crossbar now fantasy eligible?
The crossbar had as many receptions as Malik Neighbors last week, I believe.
Wah, wah, wah,
Yeah.
wah.
I'm going to take the Chargers as well. I do think Jackson Dart shows why they drafted him where they did. I don't think they're competitive necessarily. I don't think they cover the 6.5 point dogs that they are. But I think he gives the Giants organization and fans enough hope that he is the right pick going forward. Of course, the coaching staff and GM that picked him may not be there for much longer. So we'll see how that shakes out long term. But the Chargers look like a legitimately great Super Bowl contending caliber team in the AFC. The Giants have looked very much not that way. This might be a very good defensive game, similar to what we saw on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. But I just think the Chargers are too good in too many places, and the Giants just get overwhelmed and fall to 0-4. Next up,
We go to Raymond James Stadium.
We've got some turds on the schedule, but this
Is not one of them.
This is the 3-0 defending Super Bowl champion Eagles
How is
going
this game
to.
not prime time?
It's a 1 p.m. It's too early to flex. That's the biggest thing. It's a 1 p.m. flex game. The 3-0 defending champion Philadelphia Eagles, a 3.5 point road.
This game would be so
favorite.
much better than either one of those turds on Monday night.
Well, they don't move Monday nighters. They're not going to move that Sunday night one with all the extra drama. So the 3-0 Eagles go to Tampa as a 3.5 point favorite against the 3-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have won all of their games by scoring in the final minute of the game to take and hold the win. For the Eagles, I mean, you can't bench Hurts or Barkley, but A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are good but possibly risky plays. We've seen the Eagles offense just sometimes operate without them in full, and Dallas Goedert at tight end is at least in consideration. Looks like, I haven't seen the official word, but looks like Mike Evans definitely not going to play this week.
And that's a given.
Yeah. I don't think it's official, but it will be soon enough. Chris Godwin, waiting to see if he's going to be back this week. But no matter what, Emeka Egbuka's in your lineup, Bucky Irving's in your lineup, and I think if Godwin doesn't play, Sterling Shepard is a good option for a dart throw kind of play. Baker Mayfield, a quarterback, he's been too good to leave on the bench.
Expect like half of them Mike Evans from him, but still better than nothing.
Hey, if he can help free up Egbuka from just being doubled up, especially if there's no Godwin, that's going to help this offense. Maybe even Cade Otton gets involved. I don't know. Both teams.
Otton is more of a blocking back, but he's worth the dart throw play.
Yeah,
blocking,
both teams.
Tight end, sorry.
Yeah, both teams 3-0, but he has had good games when needed, and usually injury is what caused him to be needed. Both teams 3-0. Both teams have won very, very close games all 3 weeks, and mostly in the very last seconds, it seems like, for a lot of these games. Joel, I know you're a Tampa Bay homer. The Eagles are the reigning champs. This is the 3-0 versus 3-0 battle. Which one gets to 4-0?
Yeah, I'm a homer. Buccaneers have definitely been the cardiac kids last 3 weeks, not making it easy, winning in those final minute, and you're just going, whoo. But yeah, those were against teams that not bad, but none of them were, as you just said, the champs. And the Eagles showed it last week against the Rams. Everybody pretty much thought the Rams had that game until they didn't. And I think my Bucks roll comes to a halt here. I'm sorry to say, solely because of no Evans. You also have Igmuka definitely digged up. You have to wonder about the health of that offensive line. There's even Baker has even been listed as questionable. I'm like, okay, does that mean it's Teddy Bridgewater time this week? But I know the Bucks have just been unbelievable, but I think the Eagles showed last week that they can come back, they can claw their way back, and I just think they're going to be far too much from the Bucks. And yeah, it's been a fun 3-0 start, but I think it's going to be 3-1 when all is said and done, and it doesn't get any easier because next week's Bucks go to Seattle.
Yeah, I think the Bucks will go to Seattle 4-0 though. I just think the Eagles haven't looked good. I don't think the Chiefs are the team we are used to them being this year. I think as the season goes on, we'll see that they're not the contender that they have been the last few years. Not this year. They absolutely had a great comeback against the Rams, but they put themselves in a terrible, terrible situation. And the Rams, I think, shot themselves in the foot in that one. And then
Yeah,
week one
that's
against
progress
Dallas.
going old school.
And then you look at week one against Dallas with how bad Dallas's defense has been, where Chicago's lighting him up and Russell Wilson's lighting him up, and the Eagles only put 24 up on him. I have some concerns with Philadelphia. I still think they're one of the top teams in the NFC, but the Bucks have risen to every challenge. They have overcome adversity every time. I mean, they won that game last week without Mike Evans. The Jets have a solid defense. They had some bad breaks with that blocked field goal going back for a touchdown. I mean, the Eagles should have lost that game last week against the Rams. They got away with it, and I almost think that works against them here, where they think, "Oh yeah, we're so good, we can get away with it," and the Bucks are too good to let them get away with it. So I'm going to take the Bucks. First disagreement of the week. Oddly enough, I'm taking the Bucks in here on the Eagles.
Because it was you had Baker Mayfield because you had the Eagles flying in a day early to try to acclimate themselves to the heat, and Baker said that that's really not going to get them used to the heat. And just
I've been here since I was a year old. I'm still not used to it. So good luck, Philadelphia, with your extra 24 hours. Next up, Jacksonville going out to San Francisco to face the 3-0 San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy coming back to the lineup for the Niners. Still no George Kittle. Jawan Jennings is still a question mark. So, in this game, you're going to play Christian McCaffrey. You're probably going to play Brock Purdy if you still have him on your roster. If you dropped him or if he's on waivers, you have a quarterback that's out this week. He is a very good play. Ricky Pearsall is a good option as well. For the Jaguars, Etienne and Tootin, I think, can both be played. Etienne's been the better back so far, but Tootin is getting a little bit more into that timeshare, a little more work, so he's going to get a little bit better. Brian Thomas Jr. is a conversation. I don't think you can bench him, but he has not been good so far this season. This could be a breakout week, though, for him. They're going to need him to step up. Parker Washington's been the number 2 wide receiver for this team for the last couple of weeks, as Travis Hunter's been more of the defensive player. He's a spot start as well. The Jags 2-1, very close to 3-0. Lost that game to Cincinnati. San Francisco hasn't had a lot of challenges yet this season. Who do you got?
Yeah, 49ers just doing it with injuries. Be darn, Jags better, but not this good yet. Doesn't matter who's injured. Doesn't matter who starts at QB. Of course, with Joan injured, does that mean it's Brock Purdy time? Even though we know he's not quite ready to come back yet. This wouldn't be surprised when the Jags win here, but I'm riding the 49ers Express to hopefully another dub. Jags get to host the Kansas City Swifties on Monday night. Thankfully, only one game next week. I'm picking the Niners. I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors flying, but they just keep getting it done somehow.
Yeah, this is a game I actually can see going either direction, and I'm going to lean towards Jacksonville. I just think that the Niners, they haven't been challenged. Jacksonville's the best team they faced so far this season. Seattle week one didn't look great. They were still getting their bearings with Sam Darnold first start with the team. Then you had the Saints. Then you had the Cardinals. The Cardinals looked lost last week. The Jacksonville Jaguars have looked good through 3 weeks. I do think this team is getting better. And with Brock Purdy coming back, still no George Kittle, possibly no Juwan Jennings, I think they can really focus in, and they have the pieces to try and shut down Christian McCaffrey. Nobody can stop him entirely, but if you can slow him down enough, this can be a very interesting game. That defense, they did lose Nick Bosa. It's going to be definitely affected by that. And I think Jacksonville will go in there and steal a win. I think they have legitimate aspirations and hope of making the playoffs as a strong division winner. And to do that, you got to win games against teams like San Francisco. So I'm going to take the Jags in an upset on the road. Next up, Indianapolis at the LA Rams. The Colts 3-0. The Rams 2-1. Daniel Jones has been everything the Colts could have hoped for. Jonathan Taylor, right now, the best running back in football. I think both of those have to be Taylor absolutely in your lineup. Daniel Jones, team dependent. You picked him up off of waivers most places unless you're in a deeper league. So it's very possible he's not in your lineup, but he's definitely an option. Tyler Warren, he's going to be in your lineup at tight end. Michael Pittman's been very good for this team as well. For the Rams, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, no doubt in your lineup. Matt Stafford, again, if you're the Daniels manager, you can pick him up. This could be a good spot for him. But that's about it for fantasy. Could be